Hey, a review family, keep it high, keep it tight. It's Jay Morris, the review guy, back to bring you another video. Welcome back to Album Review, the series in which I review albums. So the birds are chirping, I'm being productive. It's a lot earlier than I usually make an album review, but hey, here we are. I'm really hyped, I'm really energized over the Five Finger Death Punch and Breaking Benjamin news, which I think I should have uploaded that video before this one, but this is going to be going live the same day, so keep that in mind. This is an album I wanted to get to sooner, but it took a little bit of time for it to sink in. This is an album that had a lot of hype built around it, and at this point I've listened to it a total of 3 times, so I feel like I can sum up my thoughts of this album fairly easily, fairly quickly. And of course, we were talking about Devouring Radiant Light by Skeletonwitch. And they're a band that was formed in 2003. They're kind of a thrash metal, extreme metal, black metal, death metal. They have a lot of sounds that go into their overall sound, if that makes sense. And there was a lot of hype built around this album after its release. And I watched Plugged On's review of this album, and I was watching different reviews of this album, and I stay fairly up to date when it comes to how people talk about news and album releases, song releases online on different articles, and I was pretty excited because I was hearing a lot of good things about this album, but like good talk is not always the end-all be-all for an album being good, and for me, that kind of is a bit true, unfortunately. I feel like this is a very mixed bag. And when I say mixed bag, it has good points. It has good points. And yeah, I'll get into it. So I have to praise right off the bat the first starting song of the album, which is entitled Fen of Shadows. This is an 8-minute long beast of a song with really juicy riffs, really crisp vocals, and some interesting lyricism to accompany it. And for the most part, this is just an adequate album past that point. Each song kind of has its own feel and its own, like, I guess, uniqueness to it, and each song kind of has parts of it that remain strong, whether it be the lyricism or a riff or a vocalization style at a certain time of the song. But this 8-track album, in my opinion, goes into kind of mellow death, melodic atmospheric black metal territory. Not really atmospheric black metal, more like melodic black metal. It goes into kind of the 101 cookie cutter way too often, in my opinion, where I would be into a track and then it would go into just a very generic sounding either melodic death metal or melodic black metal riff that really didn't really interest me. The extreme metal influence is very prominent, and like I said, there are good moments on this album. But when I was listening to Fen of Shadows and I was super into it, it had my attention all the way through for all 8 minutes of the track, and then it goes straight into When Paradise Fades, which is only a 4-minute song. I was very underwhelmed by the second song, and it's that type of kind of flip-floppy type of feel to it that makes me a bit off-put by it. And while I did enjoy this album, for the 46 minutes of runtime, meaning these are 8 tracks that really are long, you have a lot of songs that are clips in the 6-minute, you have 2 8-minute tracks, and they're all very long tracks for the most part, except for a few. I feel like some might have been longer than others, or maybe should have been a bit more well-constructed than others, because Fen of Shadows, like I said, is a really fantastic song, and it's sad that they couldn't really stick to that more throughout, because so often I was finding myself either bored by the vocals or bored by the instrumentation that really was accompanying these songs. And overall, while I wanted to enjoy this album, there were a lot of weak points. But for what it is, the technicality and the melodic riffage and the vocals, they're all average. You're not gonna think they are terrible, but for me, except for a song like Fen of Shadows, none of them really just blew me away, blew my mind. And for that, I'm going to give this album a 4 out of 10, because I just couldn't get behind it. And the reason I'm putting it not at a 5, because 5 is usually the score I give whenever something's like just middle of the road average. The reason I'm putting it 1 under is because I feel like some of those songs are too long. I feel like sometimes it goes into that 101 type of feel, and despite the fact that there are some good sounds and good ideas on this album, I just feel like the execution was a bit poor, and I couldn't really get behind this album other than some select few tracks such as Fen of Shadows. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you have a different opinion, I would love to hear it. Post it in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll shout your channel out. And in the end screen, you can find my previous videos. I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.